Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, Neil Gibb, and today I am with Mr. Grant Wilson from Professionals Armadale Real Estate. Grant, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Neil. Good to be here.
Part of our Boots on the Ground, or the Suburb Specialist series, where we're helping our listeners and anybody else that wants to listen to this to understand that what we're seeing and hearing in the news and the media is not really what's happening on the ground. And today we're shining the spotlight on Armadale. So thanks for coming in, mate.
No problems at all.
Really appreciate it. Before we get in, we'll talk about who is Grant and how did you get into real estate?
Got into real estate in 2005. Was a family business. Bought the business with my brother in 2010. And
so your parents owned it before?
They did own it. Yeah, it was a small office back then.
Yeah, so you're kind of born into it.
Yeah. So it was around the kitchen table, and every meal was always real estate. Mum used to do the property management, and Dad was in sales, and had a small sales team. Cameron and I, my business partner brother, we've taken that. We got up to 27 staff.
Wow.
With nearly 1,000 managements that we got to.
How did the parents feel looking at that?
They say they don't know how we did it.
Are they proud?
Yeah, very, very proud.
Yeah, they should be, mate. I know how hard it is to grow a business and
maintain it.
Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Well done. Got into it in what, 2005?
2005, end of 2005.
Yep. And then, did you say something about 2010 as well?
That's when we bought the business.
Right.
Yeah, so they wanted to retire, gave us the option to purchase the business. Lucky it wasn't the size that it was now, so we could afford to purchase it. We haven't really looked back. I mean, we have been through some grim times and obviously some boom times, which you've experienced over the last couple of years.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So 15 years in business.
15 years ownership, 20 years in real estate.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And how are you finding 15 years running your own business?
I didn't have grey hair when I started.
I'm starting to get it in my beard.
Oh, it's horrendous. I literally just shaved the sides now, so you can't see it. A lot of stress, but a lot of good times. Helps when you're surrounded by people you trust in the company as well. I've got a lot of staff that have been with me for well over 10 years. We've paid out a lot of long service. Like family. Yeah. It still is a family business. Although it's getting big, it's still a family business.
Yeah, it is hard to maintain that kind of vibe, isn't it, as you grow and as you kind of remove yourself from the day-to-day as you do. Like, how have you maintained that over the years?
Just culture, I think. And I think my brother and I have got a very good balance. He's very good with his numbers, and running the financial side, and I'm more of a people person, very good with the staff, and my emotional intelligence, I suppose. You can pick up when people are feeling a little bit low, so you sort of pep them up and, the likes. I think we always joke, if I did the money in the business, we'd have none. And if my brother did the staff, we would have none. So that's kind of the yin and yang of how it works. Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk about Armadale in general. There's a lot of focus on Armadale, or there has been, definitely over the last 24 months, and now there's a little bit of negative press out there about it, especially in some of the Facebook groups that I'm in, talking about different investors that are saying it's flat and it's not doing anything, it's time to get out, etc. Which is why I wanted to get you in and talk about it. So tell us a little bit about Armadale, the suburb, and then we'll talk about Armadale, the actual shire as well, because it's a lot bigger than I actually realised, and it seems to be growing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the history of Armadale is it wasn't the original settlement that was Kelmscott. So, but then when the Albany Highway went through, that became the main junction. Armadale then sort of grew itself then, and I think became its own, the city of Armadale back in, I think, 1979 or something like that. It's a great suburb. I mean, you've got a good mix of the hills, the flats, and, it gets a little bit of a bad rap, but the the degentrification of the suburb has been going on in leaps and bounds. Yeah,
a lot of work going on there at the minute as well.
Heaps.
Train line being upgraded. Is it elevated all the way through?
Yeah, elevated all the way through.
Wow.
So no level crossings. What that'll actually do is it's great for us because our business was we bought the building on the other side of the train line, so outside of where we were, which was in the shopping centre. But it was always like that train line was just like a barrier. But now it's all elevated. That should open up, so what they call the Western Rail Precinct. Should be all cafes, shops, and then high-rise all the way around us.
So you're based in the shopping centre, did you say that?
No, we were. Yeah, we were the slave to the retail rent market and couldn't wait to get out of that. So, we bought our own building now. So now I think we're sitting in about 400 square metres of office space is what we're in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. Tell us about the shopping centre as well. It got some money pumped into it not too long ago, was it?
Well, we had one, Armadale Shopping City, and then Woolworths used to be standalone on the other side of Joel Street. Then that all got revamped. They put cinemas in there, heap of new retail. We got lots of restaurants in there. I think there's even a bar in there now. That's sort of now we've got Woolworths, Coles, Kmart, Target. We've got all the major sort of shopping precincts in there.
So a lot of money pumped in there by the government, upgrade all the infrastructure and amenity. Yeah. And what sort of people are living in Armadale, the suburb?
Yeah, well, predominantly it was a lot of sort of blue collar. Is what we had. Now you'll find it's just a huge mix, and we've had a lot of immigration. It's a lot of that's moved into Armadale, especially like the booming suburbs or the newer suburbs like, Haynes, Hilbert, Piara Waters, Harrisdale, for example. Leaps and bounds.
Do we see a certain nationality moving into Armadale?
I know we had a lot of big Indian community that sort of moved into Piara Waters and Harrisdale. I think that was primarily driven by Harrisdale High and Piara Waters High. They got, I think it was the principal from Rossmoyne, I think, that went to Harrisdale or one of those. So, that with the education side of things, a lot of the Indian communities pushed there because obviously, public school, but with a high quality education.
It's interesting how the nationalities all stick together, right? The Poms are all down in either Port Kennedy in the south.
Or up in Butler and Clarkson.
And they all congregate together.
But we've also got, we've got a large African community as well. We've got a large Dutch community that was there. They've been there for years and years. Everyone's got their own little communities, but it all seems to blend in quite well and work really well.
Do you find them congregating in different areas of the Shire?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everyone likes to live near their friends and family. So that's what we're seeing. So a lot Haynes, there was a lot big African community that moved in there when that they started to build those, and likewise Piara Waters is definitely a huge Indian community through there as well.
Great. Let's talk about some of the suburbs then. You've touched on a few of them there. I not ignorantly, but just didn't realise how fast it was growing and how some of these suburbs are growing. I mean, we are in Forestdale, we've got some stuff in Harrisdale, we've got some stuff going up in Champions Lake, and we've got some stuff going up in Piara Waters as well. But there's a lot of other ones, isn't there? There's a few there that I've never heard of. Ashenden, which is one of them, but you said it's out the back.
Ashenden's right up, up in the bush.
Camillo.
Camillo used to be Westfield.
Yeah.
So when they built Champion Lakes, put all that big rowing regatta and stuff in there, they changed the name of Westfield to Camillo back then, and then did the land release in Champion Lakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Then we've got Haynes,
new suburb, absolutely booming. That sort of kicked off, I think it would have been like 2012, somewhere around then, and then Hilbert as well. So both of those two, all new subdivisions which are growing at alarming rates. They're huge. Like what was all farmland. We used to, drive past and there would just be cows. Now it's just a sea of housing. New shopping centre going in there as well.
It changes
another one.
fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like literally a couple of
even when I first started real estate, I would drive from, Coburn down to Armadale, and there was one set of traffic lights at Nicholson Road. Now I drive from Atwell down to Armadale, and I think there's about 7 sets of lights. And the one set of lights that was there's now a flyover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. What about Mount Rishon?
Yeah, look, good steady suburb, not really a lot of growth in terms of expansion through there because this is in the hills. So you got like Mount Azura, Mount Rishon, good views. You've got good city views up there, big blocks. I think your smaller blocks up there would be 700 square metres, but majority are over a quarter acre up to half an acre up through there. Good values in pricing. Not a lot of rentals through there, just a lot of owner-occupiers. That live through there.
Yeah, I was going to say with the price point, are you seeing a different demographic up there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, business owners, office workers.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah,
definitely. It was always you sort of see, when Seville Grove and Piara Waters and the lights, when their pricing goes up, and the downsizers move from the hills. It's all the people I call on the flats moving up to the hills,
right.
And you just see this natural progression.
So let's talk about the market in general then, because like you say, Armadale's had a lot of focus. It was one of them suburbs that a lot of investors were looking at for price point and yield.
Yep.
But then you reminded me about some of the other booms, which I wasn't actually in the country 2005 to 2008. Yep. So let's talk about the three different booms that we're seeing, and then we'll talk about what's happened in the last 24 months.
So that sort of 06 boom was a big mining boom. So that was basically just off the back of iron ore pricing that went through the roof.
What were the prices? What could you buy a house for in Armadale then?
Back then, I think the start of 05, end of 05, you could have picked 3x1. We'll just use a 3x1 as an example. Say we in Armadale, you would pick that up for about 220, 230, and then by the end of the boom, sort of the end of 06, start of 07, you were pushing up to sort of that 350 to 380 for a 3x1.
Almost doubled. Yeah,
almost doubled. Yeah. But then GFC hit, did come back a bit, didn't crash back down to below what they were, but it did get that down to about the 300,000 for a 3x1. Then it was sort of pretty steady, slight growth up until the last sort of peak, which was 2014. You would have been, median house price would have been about 350 then.
Yep.
And then we had that free fall, 5-year free fall.
Long, painful.
That went right down. We were selling, we couldn't sell stuff for 200, 220. You're buying stuff for 190. And then, COVID hit and the rest is history. McGowan unlocked the borders, and if you wanted to work here, you had to live here, and rental market just started going nuts. And then, of course, they just started buying. Yeah. And that's what we saw.
Interesting stat you give me there at the back end of the GFC after the last boom and then that long, slow downturn. You said that a lot of real estate companies had to shut the doors because there was just no action.
We had 14 offices in 2015. And we were down to 2 offices left at the end of 2019.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How many have you got back there now?
2 new ones, 3 actually that have popped up.
Yeah, so not many.
No, not many. I know there are definitely other franchises that are looking at getting in there. I know Century 21 are looking at coming in. They rang me to see if I wanted to change over. I said, been with the pros for 20 years, mate. I don't think I'm going to change now. Definitely it's on the earmark. And the amount of homes that are available in the area now, it could easily accommodate, a couple more real estate companies if they needed to.
Big spread, yeah. So post-COVID, 2019, that was pre, wasn't it? Yeah, 2019. What were you picking up 3x1s for again in Armadale at that stage?
200 grand.
200 grand.
Yep.
What are you picking a 3x1 up in Armadale?
200, 220. I picked one up from another agency. I think I paid 225 for it. It was corner block, 900 square metres, R40.
Developer's dream.
Yeah, absolutely. Could subdivide it and build 2 on that. I just flicked it a lot sooner than I probably should have. That one. That like in today's market, you would get 640 for that now.
And you picked up for 200.
Yep.
Wow. That obviously has development potential as well. So if we were talking about standard 3x1, what's your standard size block?
Well, even a standard 3x1, you would have picked up for 200 grand, and you would have, you could sell that in today's market for between 5 and 550, unless it's got a nice new kitchen and bathroom. Then you'll probably be a bit higher, closer to 600. But
what's your typical? If you could say there was a typical house in Armadale, what would it be? Would it be the 3x1?
Yeah, your typical Armadale property would have been built in the late 70s, mid 80s. It'll be an L-shaped lounge. So your lounge, dining.
Yeah.
The dining's opposite the kitchen, one hallway, 3 bedrooms, bathroom and laundry. That's your stock standard 3x1 in the area.
Yeah, what's that, like 160 to 180 square metres?
Yeah, not even.
Yep.
Yeah.
What size block are they on?
That's the beauty of them, because they're all on 700 square metres plus.
Yeah, right.
And the zoning in Armadale is R25. The majority, that's the sort of the lowest.
Yeah.
But then closer you get to the town centre, it all goes to R40. And then with the new train line and the MetroNet being announced, the City of Armadale did announce R60 within a lot of precincts along near the train stations. The kicker with that, though, is if you do want to develop an R60, you do have to go to a 1,400 square metres, so you need to amalgamate with your neighbour to be able to do it. And they want a bit of 2-storey mixed in there, and there's other rules. And me personally, I just like a straight retain and build. If I can buy it, keep the front house, driveway down the side, build a new one out the back.
Perfect. Nice and easy. Good uplift.
Yeah. Keep the back one, sell the front one.
Is there much development going on in Armadale on any of them? There is, yeah?
Yeah, heaps.
People seeing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of big unit developments as well going on now. It's typically, in Armadale, there's quite a lot of big blocks, like, half acres that are, right in town. And at R40, a lot of them sat dormant while the prices weren't doing much. Now they're all churning dirt. Yeah, just building.
What are they building on them?
3x2s, double garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would they sell for when they finish?
Well, my brother just sold one that was built in the early 2000s, so it's a bit older. He just sold that for, I think, 555,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 3x2.
So brand spanker might nudge 600?
Yeah, brand spank, you'd think 600, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are we building them for nowadays? That's the kicker, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the build cost.
Yeah, 3x2 nowadays, what's that? High threes, I reckon.
Is it?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, the last quote I got was $2,500 per square metre build cost for a budget build.
What's that? So 180 square metres, that's 360 grand, a bit more.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then you've got to finish it.
Yeah, and subdivide it.
You've got to pay those costs.
Clay there as well, it's not sand, is it?
A lot of clay.
Yeah,
a lot of clay. Once you start pushing out, like to Camillo, a lot of that's quite sandy, so you can get away with a lot out there as well. A couple of the other things you've got to be aware of in Armadale is the bushfire attack levels as well.
Yes.
There's some areas that are prone, if they're near parkland or what have you, so your build costs will go up. So higher intensity steel, all the rest of it that needs to go in. So you just got to be aware of that when you're buying.
Yeah, and add that on top of the additional site works required for the clear site, and all of a sudden that 350 grand
goes right up.
House is now 400 odd grand.
Yeah.
Who's living there? We touched on nationalities, and blue collar workers in Armadale.
Yeah.
If you kind of summarise the full suburb, is it too big to say you see this?
Way too big. Yeah, way too big. You've got mixes from all sorts. I mean, there was a stat before that there were more millionaires in the city of Armadale than there were in Peppermint Grove.
Yeah, right, 'cause it's so big.
Well, you got, Rolling Stone, Bedfordale, all those hill suburbs are quite affluent up through there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a complete mix. A lot of young families. You drive around, you're still seeing a lot of families out and about in the parks and playing and stuff like that. The sporting fields are packed.
Yeah.
Over the weekends. Whether it's soccer, AFL, T-ball, they're packed.
Yeah, lots of space there as well, isn't there, for people to play sports on. So let's talk about this COVID boom that we've just seen, or the spike that we've seen. Was it all investors, or were we still seeing owner-occupiers move there? Were we seeing local investors, interstate investors?
So initially it was investors that were buying, and that was on the back of those rental prices just starting to go up and the vacancy rate, plummeting. So once those rents started coming up, the investors, from Melbourne, Sydney, and we even had South Australia and a lot from Queensland as well. They were flocking in, buying, whatever they could.
Looking at the price.
Yeah.
Who's renting these houses then?
Mix, a lot of migrants that come over.
Yeah.
That just come, rent, and then looking at to where they're going to buy.
Yeah.
So they'll normally sign up on a 12-month lease. It might take, or they will build. We did have a lot of people that were renting, waiting for their house to be built. And I don't know if you remember you would definitely remember the long wait times for a build to get done. So we had that. But it's a general mix. Yeah.
Can you remember what they were paying just at COVID time, and then what they're paying now?
Yeah, well, about $250 a week.
Wow. And now?
And now you wouldn't get anything under 500.
Wow.
Yeah.
3x1 again.
Yeah, for a 3x1, yeah.
What about traditional 4x2s in some of the newer suburbs?
Yeah, they were anywhere up to sort of 700 to 800 a week. You know, in like Haynes, Piara Waters, even Piara Waters and Herrisdale, I mean, they're up to 850, a week.
So if we're looking at the demographic, that's a lot of blue-collar workers, for instance, your tradies, what are they earning, 100 grand a year, 80 to 100?
Mate, have you got a tradie out lately?
Bricklayers, yeah.
I swear, they must have law degrees, Some of the pricing I'm getting quoted on stuff, I'm just like, what am I doing selling real estate? Should be a brickie.
The brickies are definitely living in Peppermint Grove.
Yeah. But, ebbs and flows with them as well. I've got a lot of mates that are bricklayers and, there were times when, they were getting 50 cents a brick, and they were struggling to find work. So
they're getting $3,
$3.20. Now they can make some money, but like I said, we'll now to screw it away, boys, because, nothing will last forever.
Investors.
Yeah. So, that's, population, big mix.
Yeah,
big mix.
The reason I asked that question is we always think about affordability and, the definition of housing stress is spending more than 30% of your income on housing. And if people are spending like $600 to $800 a week, is that putting them into housing stress?
100%. Yeah. I mean, we run a matrix before we will put a tenant into a property, and we'll run their affordability, see if they can afford it. If they come, if they're up and above, that 40% mark to 50%, we generally would advise and not put them in.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we are seeing rents level. Yeah, they have started to level, which is good. Vacancy rate is still at all-time low down our way. I mean, I manage 840 rentals, and we've only got 6 available at any one time.
Yeah, and that's just people moving in and out, sort of thing.
Yeah. So we're at like 1% vacancy rate, or just under 1%.
Yeah.
Getting back to 2019, just to give you a bit of perspective, we were managing 1,000 rentals at that point, or just under 1,000, and my vacancy rate was at 17%.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That's huge.
People were offloading fire sale prices? Or
that's what I said. They were like, why can't we get a rent? I said, well, look, you can just keep dropping the price. But at that point in time, we didn't have a big influx of population coming in. There just weren't the people here to rent them. And
were the owners of them, were they interstate investors or were they local?
Local. A lot of local ones, yeah. I mean, we still had a fair few of interstate, but nothing like we do now.
No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about right here, right now, because this is the nooks and crux of the podcast episode, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I'm in these Facebook groups. Everybody's saying the markets have tanked and you shouldn't be anywhere near Armadale, you shouldn't be anywhere near Mandurah. I'll admit I've been saying the same, only because I know what's going on in these groups and I know the herd mentality of one person goes and
100%.
says, this is the next best place. They all follow, right? So what's happening right now? Are we still seeing record transactions? Are we still seeing big vacancy rate? Are we still seeing people buying?
We are still seeing a lot of people buying, and they've got to be in that sweet spot. So I think when you're referring to the property market's tanked, I said what I saw across the board was a lot of agents that, some of them relatively new to the industry coming in because, boom time, get in while you can. I think it's a quick buck. Promising higher prices than what their reality was. Once you get a property listed over 600 in Armadale, especially for a 3x1 or something like that, unless it's got subdivision potential and it's a big block, you are going to struggle with numbers. Anything you've got in that sweet spot between 550, you get it in on that price, I'll have 25 people through that first weekend open, it'll be gone. I mean, we had one in basically on the border of Armadale and Brookdale, presented like a bucket of horse dung. It was horrible. That went on the market from $449. So still a decent block. I think that one was 700 square metres, 3x1. Had a pool that was black. That, I think Andrew said they had 47 groups through that on the first open. And they had 14 offers in on it, and it ended up selling well over 500.
Wow. And this is in an area where people are saying there's nobody buying anymore. The home opens are empty, etc.
Yeah, it's because it's price relative, you know. Rents have stabilised. I mean, rents, if you're trying to get 600 plus for a 3x1 in Armadale, expect it to be vacant for a long time. You put it in the sweet spot, get that on at $550 a week, you know, it'll be rented in no time. I mean, I've been doing a few of the home opens for rentals for the girls because we've been a bit short-staffed of late. I did one on Friday night. It was 5 o'clock. We had 13 groups looking to rent that.
Wow.
On 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Still sounds busy to me.
It is busy.
Yeah.
Just be price sensitive. Yep.
So, although it is price sensitive, we've still got a housing shortage.
100%.
We've still got lots of people moving to the States. A lot of these people need affordable housing. Where do we see the suburb of Armadale in the next 12 months? Can you see that comfortable 500 to 550 bracket being the comfortable 600 to 650 bracket?
I think it will definitely grow a few more percent this financial year, and I think it's going to be very sensitive to the interest rates. So if we do get a couple of those cuts, which is predicted, all of a sudden your rental yield increases, the affordability increases, and you will find those 3x1s that are sitting at around that 550 to 570, they will be hitting that 600 and the rental market will follow.
Yeah. So it's still room for growth, just not as crazy as what it has been.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What is the median house price in Armadale?
I think 565, I think, last check. Yeah, around there.
What can that get you?
Well, like I said, that'll get you a 3x1 on over 700 square metres, probably with subdivision if you want to knock the house down. If it was a retain and build subdivision, they're probably going to go for 600. We normally whack about 50 grand on top for the back block ability.
Yeah. You've seen people win with that strategy at the minute. They want it to retain in the front, build on the back.
Yeah, 100%. I'm one of them.
It's a classic. It's a classic strategy.
It's classic and easy.
Works well.
Yeah,
works well. If you had the median house price in your pocket today, what would you buy and why?
I'd buy anything over 700 square metres, close to the CBD. The higher the zoning, the better. And yeah, it'd be rented easy, and I'll just sit on it and watch the suburb as it keeps expanding, and people are living 15 minutes out of Armadale CBD. Yeah,
I'd get in there.
Just buy them all close. Yeah.
Do we know the population of Armadale?
Armadale itself, or the city of Armadale?
Yeah, well, both. If you know it.
Off the top of my head, I don't. It's growing rapidly. Yeah. I did have a quick look at it yesterday, actually, but no, I've forgotten. I know it'd be 65,000 or something like that in the city of Armadale. Wow, it's pretty big.
Wow, and still lots of people, like you say, lots of people coming to the
and still a lot of land and a lot of new subdivisions that are being done and that have been opened up. So new shopping centres, new schools, a lot.
Good place to be. Awesome. Mr. Grant Wilson, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
No problems at all, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.